Hey everybody, it's Rick.
Welcome.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
We are live on YouTube now.
Hello.
Here we go.
Yeah. Distressing.
There's Lance.
Hello.
Lance.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
One, two, three, four, five. So it is 12, but we're going to wait for a quorum. I know Virginia is not going to be on the call today. Rick, is there anyone else you know will not be in the meeting today?
Not aware of any that weren't planning to be available. Other than Virginia. Jimmy?
Come here, Jimmy Warren.
Hello, how are y'all?
Perfect. We're waiting on a quorum.
I make a quorum.
I think you do. I think you got in right before Vanessa.
Wow.
Well, maybe we'll call it a tie. I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6. So we'll wait about 2 more minutes and see if anybody else is calling in, and then we'll get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we have on the agenda today is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Pat moved. Second?
Second.
Rick. All right, thank you. Then the approval of the minutes from the July 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move the approval.
All right, Olympia, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right.
Who seconded that? Yes.
Vanessa.
Thank
Vanessa,
you.
Vanessa, your connection's a little dicey. That's why I think she could hear you.
Okay.
There you go. You're clear now. I hear you. All right. The financial report. Virginia had a family matter today and could not be on the call, so she asked me to give the highlights of this. She has asked Amy Patton at the library to do kind of a one-page summary for her, which I really appreciate. You've got the financials in your packet. With cash report, there were no significant changes. On the profit and loss budget performance, on income, we did receive the state quarterly check this quarter. That was about $58,000. We also had 3 payrolls in the month of July, which is unusual. On the profit and loss previous year comparison, the fines are significantly lower than last July, obviously, an 82% decrease. I believe Rick Freeman said, you know, the library has suspended fines on overdue materials for the time being, has not yet started back charging fines. He said that they'll give the patrons a couple of weeks notice before they start charging fines on overdue materials again. The Raymond James statement, since the last statement, we did have an increase of $23,000, but for the year and date, decrease for $17,000. Our balance is in there. Amy did point out that the May and June profit and loss budget performance reports have been revised, as Jimmy Warren requested, to show the notes pertaining to the deposits of the city and county checks. For auditing purposes, we chose to add notes on those reports since we cannot make adjustments to the dates of the deposits or the receipts, but those changes are reflected. And I have been zipping through this and did not call for a vote on the approval of the agenda, so let's go back to that. We had a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right. We also had a motion for the approval of the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Is there any discussion about the financial reports?
I have a question. Basically, as you mentioned, we use QuickBooks and it timestamps all the entries. So the report from the packet is the report for the prior month that you see. And when we received those checks, they didn't come in that month. They came due to the delayed mail in the following month. My question is putting the notes in QuickBooks like this acceptable, or do we need to add a letter as well to explain sort of that the delay is no part by our funders? The checks that we received, I think, have postmarks for when they were put in the mail, and then we stamp them when we receive them. I guess, Jimmy, do you have a preference for how that would look? Or is the note like this acceptable? It'll show up in the audit this way.
Well, I'm not familiar with QuickBooks, but it just seems, I don't know what's best. It just seems like we ought to be able to apply the contributions from our funding officials the month that it, supposed to occur, the month that it occurs. Otherwise, our financial statements from one year to the next won't match up. And we'll be asking, well, why was it so much different than last year?
Well, given that the missed checks, or not missed, but the delayed checks didn't fall across the fiscal year break, the year-to-date should be fine, and the end of year should be fine. I do agree that if it had happened across the fiscal year break, then there would be a problem there. But this, like say, if you look at the reports, you'll see that it's missing in that 1 month, but then you see double in the next month. But I don't know sort of what we can put in there other than sort of a letter or a note explaining it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Rick, we may want to ask the accountant.
Yeah, we talked to a couple of them, but I haven't talked to Reese specifically about it. So I'll see what he recommends as well.
Is there any other discussion on the financial report?
Yeah, Terry, I had a question. Rick, is the difference, this is on the profit and loss for the previous year for July, is postage, the increase in postage, because you guys mailed the thank you letters for the gifts. Last year, this time was like $318 and it's $3,373 for July.
I'm not seeing which page you're on, but
It's the last one, the one before Raymond and James.
okay.
The profit and loss previous year comparison for July.
Typically, we pay the postage we use a postal meter, and so we put money in the account for it when it gets down to a certain threshold. And so in the month where we make a payment, it's going to show bigger. In fact, you shouldn't normally see it except when we're putting money in. But you are correct that when we do the fundraising letter for the foundation, the library just runs that on the meter. But we've done that for the last several years, so it shouldn't, in comparison compared to adjacent years, that shouldn't grow it.
And Rick, this is Vince, just letting you know, we send the printer a direct check and then they mail it out. So that would not be the letter.
No, but we do the thank you letters once we receive a check.
Okay, gotcha.
Do get run on the meter. But yes, the actual mailing itself is budgeted in through the printer.
well, the good thing is year to date is on budget. I guess this is just a month where you had to pay postage.
That's my expectation. Yeah.
Do you think that ought to be investigated to make sure that the library is paying for library postage?
Hey,
Yeah, well,
hey guys, this is Calandria.
Mhm.
The postage was metered up in July when we got back and we were trying to get mail put back out. So that's exactly what it was, is adding the postage to the meter so that we could continue to send out mail.
Okay.
And my other question, Rick, under service contracts, same page,
Yes.
the reduction, is that because we're not doing the cleaning services?
No, it's not from the cleaning services. I'm not sure exactly why that's down so much.
Hey, this is Calandria again. The security guards are also under service contracts. So I would assume that would be
Yes,
a loss there for them because they haven't been there.
Thank you.
those we definitely suspended while we were shut down.
Who do we call? Who's our security company?
It's not a company. We pay off-duty police officers. There's generally it's two specific ones that come, but if one of them can't come, they'll sometimes have another officer come as well or instead.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about the financial reports? All right, we will file those for audit. Now we have a departmental presentation by Jennifer Estes, who is the circulation manager, and she is in with Rick today in his office.
I am. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to start off by updating you on our current procedures in the circulation department in response to the coronavirus, and also just a few comments on our staffing in the circulation department. We are continuing to accept returns away from the desk. Patrons have been really understanding and have adapted well to this. They understand, and they're really, for the most part, very pleased with what we've done in terms of our safety procedures. They only occasionally try to go through the bins to check out materials that they'd like, but for the most part, they're doing a really good job of accepting that. We are quarantining all of the materials for 2 days. This is a little more difficult for patrons sometimes to understand. The materials are not immediately removed from their accounts. And once they understand what we're doing, they're fine with it. But that has taken a little bit more education of the public. We continue to wipe down all of our materials, and we are checking in everything twice to make sure that it is taken off the patrons' accounts. We, as you said earlier, we're not charging fines at this time. This is temporary. And when we do pick a date to reinstate fines, we hope to do that with at least a month's warning so that we can let patrons know and we can start sort of re-educating and getting the word out that we will be starting to charge fines again. We are also creating more book displays within the library, children's department, the circulation department, and the reference department have all set up some really great tables with themes, and also media tables and stands with movies. And this is just to encourage patrons to come in, get what they need, and go in a timely manner, since we are still asking that no one stays longer than 45 minutes. In terms of staffing, we do have several open positions in circulation at this time, but other departments and branches have been really great loaning us their staff, and we've been doing some cross training. In the next few months, we hope to train most of the library staff to be able to fill in at the circulation desk as needed. We're going to be training them to do library cards, checking materials in and out, processing holds, things like that. And that's just to prepare for the unknown and the unexpected, so that we have more people that are able to fill in at a moment's notice. And I just wanted to say, on the whole, that the staff has adapted really well. Everyone was a little nervous when we reopened. Nobody knew what to expect, but for the most part, everyone has just stepped up to do their job. There's been very little complaining, and the patrons have really just been very grateful that we're open in general, and they tell us that. So it's great to have our patrons back in the building with us. The main thing I wanted to talk to you today was the e-card. This is a new program that we're starting just this week, and we're in the process of, it's already live on the website. So if you go to the website, you'll see it on the front page and you can click through to it. This is an idea that we've discussed in the past, but as we continue to look for better ways to safely serve our public, now seems like the perfect time to get this program started. John Gately, who is our circulation librarian, has done a lot of the research and the legwork to get it up and going, and Saquon, who's in the IT department, has created the online form and the content. Since the library closed down for COVID, we've seen an uptick in patrons who want to apply for a library card without coming into the library. These patrons typically only want access to our online resources, but we didn't have a streamlined way to quickly and efficiently make that happen for them. So I'll just start off with what is an e-card. It's a way to get immediate access to all of TPL's online resources without visiting the library. So this would include checking out digital materials on Overdrive and Libby, Canopy, which is a movie and documentary website, and then also FreeDAO, which is a music platform. They would also have access to lynda.com, Homework Alabama, Learning Express, which is a test prep site, and Rocket Languages, and also access to all of our children's learning materials on Tumble Books and TrueFlix, which is a way to delve more into history and science. The services that are not available with the e-card, patrons cannot check out physical materials, and they will not be able to use library computers. But patrons can at any time upgrade their e-card to a full access card at any library location. They just have to come in, fill out a form, and show a government issued ID and proof of Tuscaloosa County address. Who can get an e-card? Anyone who does not currently have a TPL card in our system. So that would include new patrons, patrons who do not want to come into the library at this time, which we've seen a number of those who would just like to get a library card online or over the phone, and also patrons who just want to use our online resources. To get the e-card, they need to be able to show proof of one of the following. They have to live in Tuscaloosa County. They need to attend or work for the University of Alabama, Shelton State, or Stillman College, or they could be a Tuscaloosa city or county educator. Once the patron submits the online form, which you can access through our website, their information is sent to the circulation department, who will create the patron accounts. The patron will be sent an email with their library card number and an outline of the services that they can use with their card. They will not get a physical library card. Just like our regular library card, the card does need to be renewed annually. They can do that online, or they can also call in moving forward. And just in terms of marketing, when we were thinking about it right now, we wanted to target college students and staff in our various college communities. Each fall, we see an influx of college students coming into the library to get cards for the sole purpose of gaining access, especially to Lynda, which requires a monthly subscription, which I think is like $25 a month now. And we have several professors at UA who require subscriptions to Lynda as part of their syllabi. So this is who we're going to start off by targeting, but also it is also going to be available to any patron, like I said earlier, in the county who does not already have a library. And we're hoping this will also be helpful for all the parents and kids out there who are at least going to be starting online school in the next few weeks. So they'll be able to have access to our resources that way. We created a database of department chairs and community liaisons from all 3 colleges, and we're right now in the process of sending emails out to make them aware of the program. We're also going to post information on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Vince is sending out information to his contacts within the community, and hopefully we'll have something in the paper soon, letting the public know about it. So anyway, this is just, like I said, this is starting this week, and we're excited about it, and we're hoping it serves the public in the way that we're hoping that they really need right now. And in closing, I just wanted to add that even though it's been a challenge to reorient the circulation department and maintain the level of customer service that our patrons have come to expect, we have overall adapted quite well. And I wanted to thank the circulation staff in particular for all of their hard work and just their graciousness in having to be flexible and working through these changes that we have. The one thing that was made abundantly clear to me since we reopened the library is that the library really isn't the library without the patrons. And we're really glad to have them back, and we're glad that the library is open. So that's pretty much what I have. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And if not, thank you.
You're muted, Terry.
I am muted. Are there any questions for Jennifer? Jennifer, we appreciate the update. I know I'm one of the people who've been checking out things online, so I have not been into the library, so I'm glad to know kind of what y'all are doing there. I think that's really helpful. And I think that the e-cards are a great idea. What's the response been? If you said this, I missed it, but have you had a lot of people who are applying for those cards?
For the e-cards,
Uh-huh.
we're starting it this week.
Okay. All right. I did miss that part.
Yeah, it's pretty much live today. We were trying to get it out before classes started at the university so that they would have access to that if they wanted to include it as part of their requirements.
Great. Well, and hopefully too, and I don't want to say that will mean fewer people coming in, but people coming in who are not checking out books. Obviously, we want people coming in checking out books, but people who could do that from home can do it just as effectively and not have to come into the library is what I mean. So that's great.
And streamlining the process is great. We've been doing it through email, which is really cool. We're trying to get the library cards out to people. So this should streamline the process a great deal.
That's great. I think that's going to be very popular. I do. Jennifer, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. All right, now we have the executive director's report.
Okay. Well, this last Thursday, Terry and Jennifer Pearson and Amy Patton and I met with Mayor Maddox and Ms. Snowden. They had scheduled the meeting for us to discuss this year's or the coming fiscal year's funding process. The sort of main takeaway was a charge for us to see whether or not we'd be eligible for the payroll protection plan. The city was not eligible to participate, but they had learned that PARA was. And so they were encouraging us to sort of double check. And I spoke with our contact at Regions and discovered that we are not eligible to participate. The requirements that would apply to us, you have to be a nonprofit and a 501c3. And while the library is a nonprofit, we're a quasi-governmental organization and don't meet that requirement. In looking at it, I think only one library in the state of Alabama was able to apply and get accepted. And there, I think it's like the North Shelby Regional Library Corporation is how they label themselves. And so looking at it in adjacent states, I think Tennessee had maybe one public library that had qualified and maybe one in Mississippi. I don't think there were any in Florida or Georgia. But in any case, I did ask, it's Brad Hayes is our contact at Regions. I asked him to keep an eye out in case the guidelines change. There's a fair chance they will re-up the program, and it's possible that they might change the requirements, in which case we'll keep an eye on it. But
Rick, is PARA a 501(c)(3)?
I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so, but
Either.
Well, I've got an email out to find out which banker they used, and I'm going to talk to the banker and see how they qualify. Because Mayor Maddox told us that PARA got $1.2 million.
I don't know how their situation is different than ours.
yeah,
The funding's the same, essentially. So I'm going to find out who their banker is and talk to the banker. Now, I talked to my banker this morning about it, and he said that, the application's closed on August the 8th. So like I said, unless they reopen the program or have additional funds, we wouldn't qualify anyway. But if they do, then we would want to be ready and know how to go about that.
yeah. The other sort of takeaways from the meeting, they explained that the sort of budget hearings that we normally would participate in with the full council will probably not happen this year. And that I guess the mayor's office and the council have already sort of laid the groundwork in the off chance that they're not able to get their budget fully locked down before the end of the fiscal year, if that happens, then the first quarter of next year will be basically the same as this year's first quarter. So that was to reassure us that our funding will be continuous, even if they aren't able to get everything worked out before the end of the fiscal year.
Hey, Rick, did they mention anything? And let's say that happens, and so we get the same funding for the first quarter.
Yeah.
Second, third, and fourth quarter, will they go back and decrease this even more so that at the end of the year we've got the targeted reduced rate?
Yeah, typically when that happens, and that has happened a few times over the years, what they do is when they finally set their budget, they give us our allotment mapped out for the whole year, and then they subtract whatever they've already paid you and then divide up over the remaining quarters what's left.
Okay.
So, I mean, certainly they could just start the clock at the second quarter, but typically they don't.
Okay.
He didn't say either way specifically, but I would expect that they would follow the past years. He did say that their projections were looking to be a little better than they had initially thought, but that's changing almost daily, and he didn't give us a hard number to expect yet. In my report, I mentioned that we do now have both the Weaver branch and the Brown branch libraries are open 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And starting tomorrow, the main branch is going to add 2 hours to the day that we're open on Tuesday through Thursday. So we'll be open 10 to 6. And then Friday and Saturday we'll be open 10 to 5, which is 1 hour additional. And then Sundays we've already added in at 2 to 6. The main library will remain closed on Mondays for the foreseeable future, but we are, like I say, slowly trying to add services back when and where we can. The Friends of the Library are tentatively planning to reopen their bookstore on September 8th. And if they're able to do that, they're looking to be open Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays from 10 till 2. And they'll do it by appointment only, at least at the beginning. Are there any other questions about my director's report?
Frank, have you heard anything from the county about when, or have we already submitted our budget request to the county?
We've already submitted our budget.
Okay.
And have not heard any updates.
Hey, this is Stan Acker. We're in the process of doing the budget reviews for all the agency funding for the county. And we are not right now in as dire straits as the city, but we're still trying to go through that process of looking to see where revenues are going to come out and how we'll be able to do funding. We have a work session coming up this Wednesday. I would expect early in September we'll be able to get at least an initial draft out of our budget. So hopefully the county will be able to provide you with some certainty before the fiscal year begins.
Excellent.
But I can't promise that because I'm only one vote, so I'm only we'll have to go through the whole process for everybody. But our goal will be to figure that out and get out stuff to all the agencies before October 1st.
Thank you, Stan. while we were talking, Kevin sent a group chat as he looked up the PARA website, and according to its website, PARA is a 501c3. So that may be the difference. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
All right, Rick, anything else on the executive director's report? Okay. Any other questions for Rick? All right, I asked Rick to add Elevate Tuscaloosa as a permanent agenda item, just so that he can give the board an update every month. Even though, you know, in the update maybe that there's nothing that's happened this month, but I know that's something that we all want to discuss, the Elevate program and the Savings Center. Rick, what have you got for us on that today?
Basically, we haven't had a meeting with the Ellis staff since June 25th, but we do have, or have had, some email contact with Yolanda Crawford. Generally, she sends us clarifying questions about things that we've discussed in the past, and supposed to have included the last two queries like that. Certainly the art gallery one made my sheet, but I'm not seeing the other page. Did y'all see a second page of questions that had about 5?
No.
Okay. It must have gotten cropped off when I sent it over to Cheryl. Basically, the query for that one had about 5 or 6 questions, and most of those related to how the library functions, not specifics about the building. But there was a question of how do the Friends decide what to do with the books that are donated, you know, to go into the store. And yeah, you answered it. I mean, they make a determination on if it's something they think will sell, then they'll put it in the store. If not, they try to find another source for it to be used. There are lots of the little libraries in the community. They're the little free take one sort of deposit collections. And we provide resources for those to several organizations in town. The Friends also are very friendly with other libraries in the adjacent counties, and so they'll send them sort of collections of books, or if some of their staff come by, they'll let them take donations. Ultimately, if there's not a use for them and they end up being sent to be recycled. Other questions from that grouping, one was asking what the materials in, there's a closet near Amy's office, and it's where the library gets first choice over anything that's donated to the library or to the bookstore. And if nicer looking materials are donated that we think we will use in the library, we take them and send them up to tech services. But if they're things that we don't immediately have a need for, but think we might, generally it's DVDs or bestsellers, then she puts them in a special closet at this point. And the question was, what was the nature of those books? And you know, sort of, did we need a bigger closet or something like that? But in any case, that was to sort of show what the interactions are at this point. When we met with the mayor, he did reiterate that the Sabin Center is a greenlit project from Elevate. And so we are still moving forward with it. And since it's been several weeks since we've had one of the meetings, I was sort of expecting it, really been expecting one for the last couple of weeks, but so far haven't seen any indications. We did get a response from Yolanda today relating to our responses to the multiple questions in the other email, but again, it's just further clarification. But the project is still slated, to start construction in, a little less than 3 years now. That's really all we know at this point.
Hey, Rick, have they made any progress on choosing a consultant for the library?
Not that I'm aware of. And we culled down the list that they had assembled and sort of waiting for the next step for them to make a selection from that rarefied list.
Rick, this is Stan again. I guess I'm new, so I'm trying to get caught up to speed a little bit on that. Now, is this and I had copies of minutes, tried to go through them from prior meetings or whatnot. This is something that the library board agreed to do, or we're still in a phase of learning on this?
We're still in the learning stage with it. I mean, basically, the board agreed to investigate the process, the overall project. And
okay, but
yeah, there isn't.
I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure that I was not misunderstanding that. That was what I understood. But
yeah,
I was just Thank you.
And as far as I know, it's that same status with the Children's Hands-On Museum and the Tuscaloosa Children's Theater. I'm not aware of any of our statuses having changed from the exploration of it.
The good thing about that, Stan, is that the city's paying for all the services now as we explore it. So it's not costing the library anything to proceed with pursuing it, due diligence, feasibility, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we've agreed to do. And fortunately, it's not costing us anything at this point.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that is good that the library is not having to pay for it, but there may well be a thought of, maybe the library needs a little bit of independent due diligence.
And that certainly.
I'm sorry. Did I create a wave there? I'm sorry.
Nope.
No, and you were not the first to raise that consideration. At this point, we're not far enough along in the process that
I agree.
It needs that, but it is certainly an option that we need to stay aware of. But as Jimmy pointed out, at this point, we're not on the hook to pay for it. And
I don't think we should be paying for it. I don't think we should be paying for it at this preliminary, investigation stage. It's just that that's obviously a transformational proposal for the library that serves an awful lot of people. And so, it just is going to take a lot of due diligence to figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure. I didn't want to. It's been difficult, of course, with trying to join, and in this day of COVID-19 and not be able to actually, come and meet and have traditional meetings and stuff, and make sure you're understanding stuff. And it's kind of, sometimes when you read through minutes, it doesn't always, give you the clear answer. But I'm glad to know that's kind of, we're at the stage where I thought we were. So I'm appreciative of that, and everybody, digging in and trying to find out what the best thing to do is. So thank you.
Okay. Anything else on Elevator, the Savings Center? The next agenda item is Friends of the Library. Rick's already given us an update on the bookstore. Rick, is there anything else from the Friends? Bess is not on the
call. Not at this point, but do be aware that is their tentative plan. They had an earlier tentative plan to have started the bookstore back at the beginning of this month. So as that date approaches, they may decide that they need a little more time. Because of that, we're not publicizing the plans yet.
And I think you said when we talked that they're planning on doing it by appointment only initially. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, they're looking at 30-minute sessions. And so 2 an hour, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't quite worked out the protocols to decide whether they'll allow multiple different groups in at one time. They're definitely going to limit the number of customers who can come in and probably limit it to about 4 at a time. But they hadn't quite decided whether that meant that they would have like 2 appointment slots per time period, or whether they would just allow one group in, but a group up to 4 at a time. And they may play that by ear at the time of the appointment. Say, well, how many people are you planning to bring? And that they are going to meet again before they reopen. And the plan for that meeting is to sort of iron out some of their protocols.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the TPL Foundation. I know we made some changes to the foundation board at the last meeting. Rick, when are we set for a meeting for the foundation?
We don't have a date set yet, and I have yet to get the draft form for the bylaw changes ready. So I'll be sending those out as soon as I have them ready. And I expect that at that point, we'll set a date for a meeting to review those and update.
Okay. Let's see if we can get a meeting for the foundation set in the month of September.
Okay.
That ought to be doable, even if it's the end of the month. All right, committee reports. The executive committee did not meet. I do not believe that finance and facilities met. Is that correct?
That is
Pat
correct.
Okay, no finance and facilities. Policies and procedures has not met. The personnel committee did meet. That was Virginia and me and Rick Swatsky. We reviewed Rick Freeman's annual evaluation with him. That was the evaluation for the time period January 2019 through December. We had that ready to go in March, or about ready to go in March, and then everything shut down. So I was hoping we could do that in person, but we just did that by Zoom. We talked with Rick and compared the results of the evaluations to last year. I appreciate all of you who did fill out an evaluation. I also got some feedback from the staff, some anonymous feedback from the staff, and shared some of those, kind of a summary of those general comments with Rick during that meeting. The personnel committee decided not to recommend a raise for Rick Freeman this year, but, particularly in light of the uncertainties in our budget process. We thought that would not be the thing to do. So he certainly agreed with that. We appreciate that. But that's done. So we've done them a little bit late this year, but we've done the executive director evaluation. Were there anything else on any committees? No. All right. Any unfinished business?
Just in terms of, you had asked board members for input on which committees they were interested in being on.
Correct.
Have you received that?
I have not. I've in my mind, I've made a couple of assignments. I have not put everybody, and it may just be that everybody stays on the same committees they were on last year with some changes, but for new people. But the committees are policies and procedures. That's one committee. Finance and facilities is one committee, and personnel is the third committee. So if any board members have a preference, just send me or Cheryl an email and let us know, and I will get those committee assignments done hopefully by the end of the month. And Cheryl will circulate those. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to discuss? All right. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, September 21st. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Pat seconds. I see him raising his hand. So we'll Jimmy made the motion and Pat seconded. All right. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
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 All right. We will see everyone on September 21st then. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Take care. You.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
And